Hello, this is Morel Bernard with the continuation of the story set in New York. There's a blizzard, there's a burglar, and there's a burglar's sister as well. Well, it is a Christmas story. And this is the final video, the final episode. And by the way, please subscribe, please share these videos. Last words were, if he chooses to slip overboard from a boat, why no one would be any the worse unless maybe the sharks. Very true, agreed Jeffrey amiably. Fortunately, you can get a steamer in New York. It soon became apparent that the detective failed to see any good reason for declining so advantageous an offer as Jeffrey's, and they were presently deep in the discussion of their plans. McVeigh, meanwhile, studying the map with unfeigned interest in the situation of his future residence. Celia, fortunately, gave them plenty of time for their arrangements, for she had fallen asleep again after the alarm of the early morning, and the men must have been talking for 2 hours when she appeared at the library door. She cast a look of surprise at the addition to their party, and Geoffrey saw with a sort of paralysis that she was inclined to set him down as the burglar whose footsteps she had heard in the night. To prevent any betrayal of this opinion, Geoffrey advanced a few steps to meet her, although, as he did so, he realized that he had nothing to answer when she asked, of course, as she did ask, "Who is that?" A sort of desperation, the cowardice that will sometimes attack the brave, took hold of Geoffrey. He looked at her hopelessly, and would perhaps in another instant have told her the truth, had not McVeigh, not the least disconcerted, taken the lead. "This, Celia," he said exuberantly, laying his hand on the detective's shoulder, "is my old friend, Picklebody, Henderson, Picklebody. You have heard his name often enough, and he yours too. Hey, Henderson? In the old Machita days." The detective, whose name was George P. Cook, was so taken up with his surprise at the apparition of a beautiful woman that he scarcely heard McVeigh. He began to guess something of the motives that led Holland to shield this offender against the law, nor had he ever found it unwise to yield to the whims of young millionaires. Celia, who was too gentle or too politic to betray the fact that she heard the interesting name of Picklebody for the first time, remarked in a tone as cheerful as she could make it, "I suppose that if Mr. Picklebody could get in, we can get out now." "Can and will," rejoined McVeigh beamingly. "Hen comes as he has always come to his friends as a rescuer." "I seem to require a great deal of rescuing," said the girl, looking up at the monopolist in the art who had so far said nothing. "Ah, but you don't understand, my dear," went on McVeigh ruthlessly, cutting into the look which the lovers were exchanging. "You don't yet understand how fortunate we are in our friends. Henderson did not, it is true, come to find it. It was the greatest coincidence, his meeting me here. It seems that he and Holland are both interested in a mine in Mexico, and what do you think?" McVeigh paused and rubbed his hands. "Really, we have the kindest friends. They have been arranging between them to offer me a job down there. What do you think of that?" Celia, who had been trying to imagine any future after they left the shelter of the grey stone house, would have answered if she had been thoroughly candid that she thought Mexico was a terribly long distance away, but she only observed, "How very kind of them. I'm sure we shall like Mexico. There, do you hear that? We? Gentlemen," cried McVeigh, throwing up his hands, "I cannot leave my sister alone, deserted. Consider it all off. Oh, I wasn't to go, asked Celia, looking up with more enthusiasm. My dear, replied McVeigh, I must own that I was base enough to consider a plan that would separate us. The mine, it seems, is no place for ladies. But we will think no more about it. I see by your manner that your feelings. Dear Billy, said the girl gently, you must not give it up. You know that I can always go to the Lees until I get a position. And nothing is so important as that you should have work that is satisfactory to you. Of course you must accept. Did you ever hear anything so noble? Asked McVeigh. Yes, I suppose I ought to accept. So they both tell me. I must go, mustn't I, Hen? Well, it looks like it would be better for you if you did, replied the detective. You had fortunately his legitimate share of American humour. There is another point, Celia, McVeigh went on. If I do accept, I shall have to leave at once. When did you say, Hen? Train to New York this afternoon, steamer, sails tomorrow. Oh dear, that's very sudden, said Celia. At a word from you, dear, and I'll give it up, remarked McVeigh. No, no, of course not. I should never forgive myself. You must go. Perhaps it is all the better that I did not know beforehand. It saves me just that amount. We've no time to lose, remarked McVeigh briskly. If we are going to try for that afternoon train, I suppose we can get a sleigh at the gardener's, Holland, if we can struggle as far as that. Well, we must hurry off. It was McVeigh who urged on the preparations for departure, hurrying his sister, flitting about the house at such a rate that the detective, who was of a soldier build, found it hard to keep up with. Nor was it only physical agility that McVeigh required of the unfortunate man. Having overheard Geoffrey telling him that he was not to betray the real state of things before Miss McVeigh under penalty of losing his money, McVeigh took special delight in making him look like a fool, calling upon him to remember happenings which existed only in McVeigh's own fertile brain. What, Hen? He would cry suddenly. What's the name of that pretty black-haired girl you were so sweet on? You know, the daughter of the canal boat man. The detective, looking very much alarmed, would of course reply that he did not know what McVeigh was talking about. There, McVeigh would reply soothingly, patting him on the shoulder. I'm not going into the story of the pink blanket. You can always trust to my discretion. But I would like just to remember her name. It was so peculiar, a name I never heard before. The detective, who had been respectably married since he was 20, found himself unable to remember any female's name, and finally, in agony, suggested Mary. Mary, my dear fellow, no, that was your friend, the paper girl. There is nothing very unusual about Mary, is there, Holland? No, the name I was trying to think of was Ethelbertha. Now, you remember, don't you? No, I don't, said the detective crossly, casting an appealing look at Geoffrey. How sad that is, said McVeigh philosophically. You don't even remember her name. And at one time, oh, well. Or again, he would exclaim brightly, studying the detective's countenance, Ah, Anderson, I see the mark of Sweeney's bullet has entirely gone. I was afraid it would leave a scar. Tell my sister that yarn. I think it would interest her. Yes, do, Mr. Picklebody, said the girl politely, and McVeigh, when he had sufficiently tortured his victim, would at length launch into a story himself. Miserable as the detective was under this sort of treatment, it soon appeared that McVeigh's ease and facility had made an impression on him, and that he looked at his prisoner with a sort of wondering admiration. Now, Holland, are we all ready, Celia? Have you got your little bag? He began when they were about to depart. Holland, my dear fellow, Don't think me interfering if I ask whether you have looked to all the doors and windows. Tramps and thieves are so apt to break into shut-up houses, and it would be such a pity if anything happened to any of your pretty things. Ah, what an expanse of snow. Beautiful, isn't it? You may talk about your tropical scenery, Hen, but we shan't see anything finer than this the world over. What a contrast the South will be, though, old man? And drawing the detective arm through his, leaning heavily upon him meanwhile, McVeigh moved forward, talking volubly. Celia and Geoffrey hesitated a moment, looking up at the house that had seen such momentous changes in their lives. When we come back, it will be spring, said Geoffrey softly. Oh, said the girl in a rather shaky voice. You like me well enough to ask me to stay again? Well enough, said Geoffrey, to ask you to stay forever. Forever. That is the end of A Christmas Story. End of A Christmas Story. A shorter episode for the very end. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. Please share these videos. Please subscribe. Please share these videos. Great fun delivering them to you. So please subscribe. Please share. And watch out for the next video. The next videos are coming. Okay. Thank you. From Morale saying bye-bye for now. Bye.